Welcome back for another video. Today I will be covering my wide receiver big board for the 2017 NFL Draft. Let's get started. Before I get into my wide receiver big board, I'd like to talk about some things that I like to see in these wide receivers. I like to see their speed, their route running, how well they catch the ball. And one final thing that I don't really look for in wide receivers, but it's more of a question. It's can they take over a game? And that's the number one thing I look for in a wide receiver. Can they be that big target on third down? When the game's on the line, can the quarterback go to them? That's the biggest thing when I'm looking at wide receivers. To get things started, my number one wide receiver is Mike Williams from Clemson. Back to that question I asked, he could definitely take over a game. If you watch the National Championship, on the last two drives with Clemson down, he came up with two huge catches with guys all over him. He high-pointed the ball. He could do everything. He's got good hands. His speed, he ran 4.55, which exceeded some expectations. I think some thought he would run in the 4.6s. When he catches the ball, it's just natural. It just melts in his hands. He's not going to drop too many. When I see him come to the NFL, I think he could be a number one right away. He's going to develop into a Pro Bowl player, an All-Pro, maybe. Clemson, they've had some top wide receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, Sammy Watkins, Martavis Bryant. They've all been great, and I think that'll continue with Mike Williams. The second wide receiver on my big board is Corey Davis from Western Michigan. Too bad he had to miss out on the combine. I thought he would have done well. He's got good speed, good route running, good hands. If you watch his tape versus Wisconsin, there was one time where the ball was thrown in the back of the end zone. He had three guys all over him, and he still came down with the ball late in the game. It was a clutch catch. The game was on the line. My comparison for him would be Demaryius Thomas. He reminds me of him. Just their body of work, good route running, good speed, good hands. I just think he'll be good in this league. I think he could be a Pro Bowl wide receiver, maybe even an All-Pro. Some have him better than Mike Williams. I don't really see that, but I mean, they're very close. Both will be very good, and that's why they're at the top of my big board. The third wide receiver on my big board is Zay Jones from East Carolina. He is the FBS all-time leader in receptions. According to Matt Miller, he's got the best hands out of any wide receiver in this draft. He went off at the Senior Bowl, had a better combine than people were expecting. Some have him going in the late first. I see him going in the early second. Some even have him going in the late second. But I think he can go to the Rams maybe in the early second at 37. That would be a good place for him. I think he's just going to go in, be a number one wide receiver right away, maybe number two if there's another team that has an elite wide receiver on their team. I think he can pan out very well. My fourth ranked wide receiver might be a huge surprise to some, and that is Jalen Robinette from Air Force. I think he could be a huge deep threat in this league. He can go up, catch the ball over multiple defenders, had a very good combine, ran 4.6, which wasn't really that good, but he caught the ball well and did everything well. He's the best run blocking wide receiver in this draft. When Air Force threw the ball, they didn't throw much, but when they did, it was to him. He had over 50% of their receptions. And I just think he's going to be a good wide receiver, a good deep threat. I think he's going to go in the 4th, 5th, or 6th round in that range, but I think he's got second round talent. My 5th ranked wide receiver is also from a small school, and that is Kupp from Eastern Washington. He came on the scene at the Senior Bowl. There was a lot of hype surrounding him. That died down a little bit after the combine. He didn't run as fast as some thought he would. He ran 4.6, but he catches the ball very well, very physical wide receiver, breaks tackles. I could see him going in the 2nd round to a team that needs a number 2 wide receiver. I think he could be a solid number 2 wide receiver, maybe even a number 1. He's just got very good playmaking ability. He's very athletic, even though his 40 time did not show that. My 6th ranked wide receiver is Heisman finalist Urias Westbrook from Oklahoma. He's very fast. He's got good hands. He can take over games like these other wide receivers. That's why he's ranked highly on my board. Had 1,400 yards this year. Recently I've seen him fall off the top of other people's big boards, but he stands at number 6 at mine, and I think he's going to be very good. I think he can go in the mid-2nd round. I think he could fall maybe to the 3rd round, but whatever team picks him up, I think they're going to get a good wide receiver. comparisons for him I see are Deshaun Jackson, someone that's really fast, someone that's got good hands. He's just undersized a little bit. He weighs around 185 pounds. He's just skinny. I think teams might be worried about how he will hold up in the NFL. My number 7 wide receiver is probably the biggest riser in this draft, and that is Gavin from Penn State. After the Rose Bowl against USC, his stock rose. He took over that game, caught the ball over multiple defenders, scored multiple touchdowns. He ran faster at the combine than teams were expecting. He ran around 4.4. I think he's going to go in the late 2nd, 3rd round. He's going to be a very good wide receiver, good route runner, and that's what I think about Gavin. My 8th ranked wide receiver is John Ross from Washington. He is finally here. He is not high on my big boards like other people's, but that doesn't mean he can't be good. But if you watch the Alabama game, he only had 5 receptions for 28 yards. He did not take over that game. If you look at Mike Williams, he shredded Alabama. He can take over games. That's why I don't really see John Ross being like a number 3 or number 4 wide receiver like some people have on their big boards. He had 4.22 40-yard dash. He broke the record. He showed that off in games. He had a few drops here and there. Good route runner. He's going to be a good slot wide receiver. I think he's going to go to 13 to the Cardinals, maybe 16 to the Ravens. Some team in the mid-1st round will get him. I don't think he deserves to go that high. I think he should go in the 2nd, 3rd round. I mean, that's all I think about him. I'm not high on him like other people are. My 9th ranked wide receiver is Quincy Aiyuk from Ole Miss. For some others, he's not ranked as high, but I think he deserves to be this high. He's got good hands. He's a big-bodied, physical wide receiver. He's got good speed. When Laquan Treadwell played for them, he got some targets that were away from Laquan. I think they compare very good to each other. Laquan went in 1st. He had a very below average. It was very bad, actually. He only had a few receptions, but Quincy Aiyuk, if he were to go in the middle rounds, he wouldn't have high expectations like Laquan. And I think he could be a very good wide receiver. I think he's going to be one of the biggest deals in this draft, and any team that gets him, I think they're going to get a good quality wide receiver. My 10th ranked wide receiver is Kenny Golladay from Northern Illinois, another small school guy, very raw, but he's 6'3", 6'4", he's got 4.4 speed, good hands. I think he's worthy of being a top 10 wide receiver in this draft. He's going to go in the 3rd or 4th round. He's going to be very good. Alright, here are my guys, 11 through 15. You got Carlos Henderson from Louisiana Tech. He breaks a lot of tackles. He breaks more tackles than anyone by a long shot, too. Juju Smith-Schuster from Southern Cal. Some people have him higher than what he is for me. Some people hate him and don't even consider him. They're like, oh, stay away from USC wide receivers. I think he could be okay. You got Noah Brown from Ohio State. He had a 4-touchdown game versus Oklahoma. I just watched his tape this morning. He even got a ball around the corner. He's got good hands, good run blocker. Darius Stewart from Alabama. He's a very dynamic playmaker. They run end arounds with him. I think he compares to Farrell Cooper for the Rams a little bit. And then 15, you got Matt Collins from North Carolina. He suffered an injury this year. He kind of reminds me of Mike Evans. Not as good as Mike Evans, obviously. He's not going to go top 10 in the draft. But I think he could have a sort of a successful career as him. He just reminds me a lot of him. For my wide receivers 16 through 20, you have Demorie Stringfellow from Ole Miss. He reminds me of Quincy Aiyuk from earlier, also from Ole Miss. He's got good hands. You got Chad Hansen from California. He's a very strong wide receiver, can catch the ball well, good route runner. I think he could be pretty good. Shelton Gibson from West Virginia, 5'11", deep threat. Just watched his tape this morning too. He just blew past guys, ran a 4.50 at the combine. You got Ryan Switzer at 19 from North Carolina. He's going to be a good slot wide receiver. I think if he goes to the right situation, he deserves to be higher on this list. Back to that first question, yes, he can take over games, but since he's 5'9", he's a little shorter than these other guys. I think his potential is limited. But I'd say if you were to go to the Packers, the Patriots, some team with an elite quarterback, he could be very good. And at 20, you have KD Cannon from Baylor. I think he reminds me of the wide receiver from Baylor that came out last year, Coleman. Went to the Browns. He went in the first round. He's a deep threat. Drops are a concern with him, but I think he could be very good too. 25, I have a lot of tall wide receivers in this group. You got Josh Reynolds from Texas A&M, big wide receiver, high catch radius. He's going to be pretty good. Robert Davis from Georgia State. I watched his tape this morning. It wasn't much. There's only one video because he's from Georgia State. He's a very small school, but I think he could be very good. He's got good hands, good speed. He ran 4.4 for his height. That's pretty good. Next, you got Jehu Chesson from Michigan. He's like a lot of these guys are pretty big. He catches the ball well. 24, you got Malachi Dupree from LSU. One thing about these LSU wide receivers, they ran the ball a lot and shaky quarterback play, so you didn't really get to see much with them. I think he could be a steal in this draft. Amara Darboh from Michigan, just like Jehu Chesson. Pretty decent wide receiver, good possession, wide receiver, good hands, and that's what I like about those guys. For 26 through 30, we could start off with Fred Ross from Mississippi State. He was a big target for Dak Prescott when he played for them. Good hands. I think he's going to be better than some think. 27, you got Taywan Taylor. Now here's a guy that I have lower than most people. If you watch his bowl game versus Louisiana Tech, he separated very well. He's going to be a good deep threat, but he just dropped the ball. There was one time he was wide open, ball was right there, easy touchdown, but it was dropped. At 28, you got Curtis Samuel from Ohio State, very dynamic playmaker. I think on my overall big board he's going to be higher than these other guys just because his versatility. He can line up at H-back, running back, he's a good kick returner, he's very shifty, he can cut, he's very good. Just as a wide receiver, I don't think that's his fit in the NFL. 29, you got Isaiah Ford. He's higher for other people than what I have him. He had a below average combine, didn't run as fast as others thought. He has trouble catching the ball as well. And then at 30, you have that other LSU wide receiver, Traven Durrell. I think he could be higher, but like I said about Malachi Dupree, just LSU, you couldn't really see the potential in the wide receivers just because of that offense they were in. To round out my big board, at 31, you have Artavis Scott from Clemson. He's the all-time leading receiver at Clemson, which is saying a lot because there's been a lot of good wide receivers, like I've said. Cool fact about him, he's Deshaun Watson's roommate. I just feel like he's more of a system wide receiver, but I think he could be okay. He's a hard worker, I know that. 32, you got Josh Malone. Nothing really stuck out with him for me in the tape that I watched of him. Then you got Travis Rudolph from Florida State at 33. Nothing really stuck out for him either with me. I just think he's going to be average. I think he should go day 3. Some people have him going as early as round 4 or 5. I just don't think he should do that. And my last one is Stacy Coley from Miami. Brad Kyle loved him. I didn't. Drops. He's just not good. But he's better than some, I would assume, that I didn't watch. And for those that I didn't watch, they're not on my list. So if there's anyone, if you're screaming out Ricky Seals-Jones, I did not have time to watch, or like people like them, I think he could have found a spot on my big board. I just don't have time to scout him. I'm trying to get as many as I can. I'm trying to get 150 players overall. Still got to watch quarterback, some offensive line before the draft next week. But that's about it. Thanks for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and keep watching. Thank you.